One of my mentors, she said, entrepreneurship is the ultimate mastery and transcension school because it is going to force you to see and recognize all of your blocks, all of your limitations, everything you're going to come face to face with. So if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't faced any, first of all, what are you taking that you haven't had to do that?
Right.
Stop playing in life, let's go. Hey, stop playing in life. I wanna see you happy. Right now's the time. Let's go. Hey.
Hi, your peeps. It's Melissa with Stop Playing in Life, and we're speaking with Jennifer Redden, a quantum breath activator. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. This is awesome.
Jennifer, please tell us a little bit about you and what compelled you to get into your field of expertise.
All right. So, hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Redden. I am a quantum breath activator, emotional mastery, and self leadership mentor. I guide professional women and executives to liberate themselves from the emotional overwhelm and the pressure of external expectations so they can experience joyful freedom in their life and create the soulful impact that they are meant to during this lifetime. I started this journey. Well, we can always say we started our journey, way back when, but this particular part of my journey, I started a couple of years ago after I had spent 17 years as a respiratory therapist working in the hospital setting. I treated every patient population you could possibly think of with respiratory illnesses, from a 22-week gestational baby all the way up to 100 and however many years older person. And I've, through that, I became burnt out. It was a lot. And so I experienced a lot of emotional overwhelm myself through all of those years, and especially in the last few years of my career doing that as the manager of the department. So I felt I was just in a complete state of emotional overwhelm and burnout. So I wanted to be a change maker, somebody that went in and wanted to create impact that was a positive change within the corporate culture. And so I thought I was going to do it one way. And then of course, 2020 happened, and we all know what 2020, we were all part of that. And it took me into a deeper experience for myself. And during that experience, I realized that you don't change corporate culture by your best impact in changing corporate culture is by helping the leaders transform and helping them transcend and helping them create an inner harmony that allows them to lead with ease and make decisions with ease without always feeling burnt out or in a state of overwhelm. So that is how I ended up doing what I do now. And I absolutely love it. I have the most amazing clients, and it really is just so awesome to watch them evolve. And every time they evolve, I evolve with them. It is definitely a co-creation process, and it is a complete give and take on both parts. So I learn from them as much as they learn from me, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
It sounds amazing. So, coming from corporate, did you start while you were still working your other job, or did you just decide to strike out on your own and without a safety net?
There was no safety net. I don't do things normal or typical in any way, shape, or form.
Me neither.
I was so burnt out. There was no capacity. I had no capacity there was nothing left at the end of my day to start something new. So I just quit, right? I evolved in that moment. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I always think that it was divine timing. It was complete. The universe just like, it's time for you to go. Cause I can't imagine what it's like now. Well, I have some friends that are still in there, but it's just, I'm so glad I left when I did, because I wouldn't have had the capacity to do the things that needed to be done. And I'm better serving my community doing what I do now. So
A lot of my listeners are fairly new to entrepreneurship. Have you faced any hurdles growing your business?
Oh gosh. I love this question because I don't think one of my mentors, she said, entrepreneurship is the ultimate mastery and transcension school because it is going to force you to see and recognize all of your blocks, all of your limitations, everything you're going to come face to face with. So if you're an entrepreneur and you haven't faced any, first of all, what are you taking that you haven't had to do that?
Right.
And second of all, of course I've had hurdles. Trying to figure out what my message was, and was one of the biggest thing of exactly what is it that I do? How do I help people? I had downloaded my signature system and my, the program that I guide my clients through in 2020 during a deep meditation. But I didn't know how to actually bring it to life. I didn't know the pieces to actually make it a reality. I had all of the ideas, I had all of the concepts, I knew the 3 pillars, and I didn't know how to like really bring it to life. So that was a big one. And learning how to just show up for myself, just something I've always put off to the side. I think through all of my career and then even in entrepreneurship, I always just kind of put my needs to the side. And so really, how do I show up for myself? How do I put myself first in a meaningful way? Not as in like go and splurge and buy all the things, but really like tending to my heart and tending to my emotional needs. And so that was a big lesson, and learning how much healing I had there, how much of my own self-betrayal patterns that I have really struggled with, and how much healing that needed to happen there. So my message, and then the other piece was just creating a space. I mean, it was fairly easy, but it was just creating this effort for my clients, right? Like it was easy for me to coach them. It's easy for me to mentor them. But it really is just like, how do you get them from point A to point B? What does that look like? And really creating that space that isn't me trying to overgive, right? It's more about holding them accountable, but really just creating this massive container that allows them to transform and evolve all on their own with my support and within my own vortex. So that was another piece to that. So yes, hurdles, absolutely.
You do a lot of mindset and inner work with your clients.
Yes.
And you brought up the pillars, and I wanted you to walk us through your 3 different pillars, the quantum.
Okay. So my pillars are the quantum conscious activation, quantum breath, and quantum being. And those are the 3 pillars in which I use with all of my clients. So my actual program is based on a 6-step program. And within each one of those steps, we use these 3 pieces. So we activate within them the self-betrayal patterns that they have. And then from there, we activate those things that are dormant, right? So the activation of who they are becoming, who their soul wants them, and is who they desire to be. So we activate that at each level. And it really is, it is both sides of it, right? How have you betrayed yourself? And within that, how have you betrayed yourself? What your soul's desires are, right? So a great example of that would be pushing your emotional needs aside, right? How many times have you betrayed yourself when it's your soul that really wants to come out, that really wants you to be this leader, that really wants you to step forward and be an influential, transformational person? And you've just stayed hidden, right? Because you're scared to show up. You're scared to put yourself out there. You're scared that you're going to be rejected. So becoming aware of how you've betrayed yourself in that way, and then activating that whole new soul level. And then from that stage, we go into the breath, the quantum breath. And I have a completely different perspective on the breath after all of my years in respiratory. I know we see a lot of different breath work techniques, and there's tons out there, right? The box breath, and then there's the square breath, and there's nothing wrong with those. But my biggest thing with the breath is it doesn't want to be forced. It doesn't want to be pushed. It just wants to be listened to. That's it. That's all it's asking for. It is your divine, innate gift to breathe. And all it wants to do is to be listened to. And there's no wrong way to breathe. We have this misconception that we're all breathing wrong, but we're not. We're breathing in a way that has worked and served us, right? We breathe because of our patterns, our self-betrayal patterns, our cycles. We breathe because of trauma. We breathe because of how our energy flows through our system, right? And none of that is wrong. So when we start to work with the breath, it's not about forcing it into your belly or forcing it into your head. It's about listening to it at first and creating a relationship to it. Because if you've never had a relationship, are you just going to jump in and be like, you're wrong, I need you to do this? No, you want to listen. You want to cultivate that. You want to honor it. So I always start my clients with learning how to do a breath check-in. And that becomes a pivotal piece in our time together. And so what the quantum breath does is it takes you into this deep state of relaxation that allows the breath to not only remove and clear out old wounds, but it also allows you to receive, and it receives from your divine, from your soul, and it allows that to come in, and it allows you to really bring it into the body. So not only what we just activated into your conscious awareness now becomes an embodiment piece through the breath. And then the third thing is the quantum creation being, and that is learning how to harness that identity that your soul is craving for you to be and that you desire to be, so you can stand up and stand out in the world and be your own unique person and broadcast it within the quantum field. So then you become a magnet, right? So you become this broadcast station that's sending out this frequency, and it's vibrating because you're now vibrating at a higher level. It's vibrating out into the world. And so then you automatically become a magnet, and things that your soul is desiring are drawn to you. And so it just becomes this ability to, I always like to think of it as like folding the piece of paper. Like, here's where you are, here's where you want to be. And through each one of these three pieces, we're folding that piece of paper so they meet in the middle.
I love that because it's similar to like what I do. Like,
That's awesome.
It's very similar but different. It's a lot different but very similar.
It's all, I mean, and that's the thing, because we are all here on Earth and we're all in the same universe. The idea of transcension, the idea of ascending, the idea of conscious awareness, we're all having the same conversation. We're all just doing it a little bit different in our own unique way. So yes, I'm sure you are doing something very similar, and many of us are out there, but you have a unique frequency that you use when you're talking about it with your clients. That's why they're drawn to you, just like my clients are drawn to me and my frequency. Right. And that's what makes us all unique and different. So we can all be doing the same thing, but we're doing it in our own very unique way.
Yeah. You talked about self-betrayal. What are some self-betrayal patterns that keep people stuck in overthinking and not be able to make decisions?
Oh, goodness. So one of the biggest things of self-betrayal is you're putting your needs aside, right? Okay. So what we tend to do, and this is an awesome one that one of my clients is currently going through. We were working through an activation, and she's like, I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm really just trying to gain clarity around this, right? So she's stuck in this overthinking and trying to figure it out. And I gave her the idea that what you can do instead of trying to figure out, right? We're totally taking this Yoda style. There is no try, there is only do. What if who are you if you already have that information? Right? Who are you? How do you show up? What if it's already there for you and you don't have to try at anything? It's already aware. And so that is a self-betrayal pattern. That's one that I'm saying I don't know to something is totally me going, no, I don't know. So I don't have to do it, right?
Me too. I do it all the time.
All the time. So that is a self-betrayal pattern, right? We are truly betraying our soul. And the ultimate, the ultimate piece of that is we're betraying our soul and our own innate wisdom. So when we do that, we avoid the thing that is actually going to bring us forward, that is really stepping into our own power. So when we take a step back and we go, okay, well, I don't need to try to do this. I don't need to try to figure this out. I already have it figured out. I'm already capable of doing this. So let me just do it. And then that is the piece where all of a sudden you don't have to work so hard to make a decision, right? You don't have to overthink in the decision-making process because you're tapping into your innate wisdom and the person that already knows, which is your soul.
It's easy to say that, but then people still don't want to do anything. So what are some techniques that you can tell people to use so they can actually show up feeling empowered?
So it is.
You say it all day long, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it.
Right. Well, and so there is actually this gap between knowing and doing, right? And we like to get stuck into, oh, well, I need to gather more information. I need to gather more information before we actually make it practical. So I always go back to, who are you being, right? If we're working within the quantum field and we're working with an identity piece and we're working within a broadcast, the question isn't what are you doing? It's who are you being? So if you have a list of tasks, when you look at those tasks, who are you being with them? Are there a lot of tasks on there that don't really matter, that you're just putting on your list because it makes you feel busy? Mm-hmm. Are there tasks on there that you could have had done 3 weeks ago, but you've been avoiding them? So who are you being? Can you be that person that already has them done? What does it look like when you're done? And so that's a great tool right there. One, who are you being? And two, that difficult task, think about what it looks like when you're done, what it feels like, the emotional state when it's done. So you and I were briefly talking about editing, right? So let's just take this for an example. Yeah. Editing. It's long, it's a tedious process. It's right? It's not the fun part of it. But instead of coming at it from that angle, what does it feel like when it's done? What does that feel like when it's completely done and you get to just put it out there and it's, what is it? Juicy, delicious? What emotional state comes from that, from it being done? And when we tap into the end result and what that looks like and who we are when we finished it, then that's also bringing you to this new level of consciousness because you overcame. Mm-hmm. But we like to put a lot of stuff on our list so we can keep avoiding, right?
It'd be at the top, but then you avoid them so much they literally be at the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's the ones that will get you to your next steps, but you're gonna do them last, which means never.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which is I always check in with myself. When I look at what's on my list for the day or for my week, because I do set out on Monday or Sunday nights, I look at my week and I plan it out. And I'm like, who am I being at the end of this week? Mm-hmm. If I'm the person that completed these things, who am I? And how does that make me feel? What does it look like? What vision do I have of myself come Saturday evening? And that tapping into that emotional state and living and in creating that future version of myself empowers me to do the difficult thing.
I love that because I'm a to-do list person because I know I can do lists. But I don't ever think about, okay, what am I going to feel after I finish this list? To me, it's just like, okay, another week, another list. Let me just get this list done. This is what I need to do. Okay, I got the list done. Okay, next week, what am I doing for the list? It's a never-ending cycle.
Well, so that's awesome, because let's talk about, just for a second, just talk about this, because I love this, because this is actually something that I am working through. So you're a driven person. That's clear, right? You're driven, you're determined. So do you celebrate? Do you take a moment when you've completed a task?
I do. At the end of the week. At the end of the week.
So how can you, I mean, this is great for anybody, because I'm sure you have very driven, passionate, determined women who listen to this, maybe some men too, but do you celebrate? Because even us as passionate, multi-passionate women, what we can do is we can be so driven that, one, we get bored with the project in the middle of it. So we're like, oh, what's next? Right?
Yeah.
Two, we can, we get so caught up in, oh my gosh, so what's the next step? All right. So, here's a perfect example for me personally. This was like 7 years ago. I was doing triathlons and half marathons and things like that.
Wow.
And I would finish a race, and by the time we got to the car, I was looking at when my next race was.
Girl.
Right. That's how driven when can I sign up? When's my next one? When am I signing up? Like, this is what I've got to do. Instead of taking the time to really celebrate that moment and what I just accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're driven, we tend to just keep going without stopping and looking and celebrating, and even celebrating the small moments. When you cross something off your list, do a dance, like truly come up with your own celebration, throw some confetti, whatever it is, have a glass of champagne, I don't know, but take a moment to celebrate, because that allows you to hit that achievement and feel like you've really achieved something. If not, we're constantly searching and we'll become that like hamster on a wheel that we're constantly trying to chase a carrot, but we're not actually getting anywhere. We've never really taken a moment to just love ourselves and appreciate ourselves and celebrate who we are and what we've accomplished. And then that's why we also start to avoid more, because why would I want to do this? Because I don't get anything for it anyway.
Right. I do that also with learning. I talk about this a lot. Like, we're always on the hamster wheel. Where's the next course? Where's the next training? This and that. I do that also with learning. Like, it just never stops. Just always learning.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's a big thing that I incorporate within my program, because I work with driven women, and just knowing myself, I need to create that space to allow me to integrate. And right now in social media, I think is huge, because you'll see people, influencers especially, talking about how, they have all of these different coaches, and that they have a coach for health and they have a coach for business. And it's always, you need to constantly be investing in yourself and always learning and growing. But at some point, if you're constantly learning and you're never taking the time to apply it, what was the point?
That's another thing I say. The application of knowledge is power, not knowledge.
Well, so that's what I think about with school, especially respiratory school, right? I went to school, I learned the basics, I learned all the things I needed to do to go out into the real world and do my job at the time. And that was a 2.5-year program. And then I got into but also within school, there's clinicals. Mm-hmm. There's a reason there's clinicals, because we need to take what we learned in the classroom and apply it to real life.
Mm-hmm.
And then even still, after you finish school and you graduate, you go out there, think about a doctor, right? Then they are, respiratory or a nurse. Then they go into the hospital setting and then they still have orientation and they still have to learn. And that's still another whole process. I think we have gotten so addicted to taking in knowledge that we have lost our own ability to actually apply it. And that goes within our own transformation.
I love that. That's so true. It is so true, though.
It is. And I think it is especially true for women, because we have had to work really hard to get where we are.
And on top of taking care of everybody else too.
Right. And, if you throw in any sort of minority into that, any sort of cultural difference, then you're adding even more of this. You have to work twice as hard as those around you to make the impact that you want to.
Tell me about it. Which will segue into self-care, because we're both big on self-care.
Yes.
Why do you believe daily self-care is so important in self-leadership?
Oh, so I love to just come on and debunk what people believe self-care is, just like I love to debunk what people think like breath work is or whatever. But we have this idea that self-care is getting your nails done, getting a massage, getting your hair done, having a spa day. And even within that, there's so many other ways. But really, to me, what self-care is, it's how you talk to yourself. It's the structures, it's the rituals that you have created. So when you're having a bad day or a difficult, challenging day, you have a system in place that supports you. It's not about it's not about doing external and outsourcing your self-care is how I refer to it. You don't need to outsource your self-care. Your self-care has to come from within, and you have to tend to the matters of your heart. And it only can do that is if you've created structures that allow you to feel safe to do so. So whether that's journaling or meditating or a nice yoga practice that allows you to really tune into your body, anything that allows you to really listen to your emotions, feel your emotions, and then move forward through your emotions, right? It's never about sitting in the poopy diaper of your emotions. It's about, oh, they're there. Oh, this is what this is here for. And then working through what are the thoughts that are happening within that are creating those emotions. And you can only do that if you have the structure that supports that. So to me, that's what self-care is. And when you have those structures and when you're able to do that, that's self-leadership, right? You're like, oh crap, right? We'll come back to avoiding, right? We're avoiding to do the task. Ooh, I just caught myself. I can use an example of myself this week. So I was working on some content, right? Writing out some content, and I was trying to write, and then all of a sudden I felt myself just get really scared, right? Or like I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to say here. This isn't right. No one's going to like this. Like I heard the voice. I heard myself, I like to refer to as my human self. I heard little Jennifer like having starting a little tantrum. And so then I was able to be like, okay, all right, what is it that you need? What is it that I can give you that makes you feel safe so we can complete this task? And did I avoid? Yeah, I hopped on social media, I'll fully admit. But I was able to recognize it. So then the next time I can create a structure so I can actually move forward. And that's it. Self-care, self-leadership, in my opinion, is always being able to recognize and honor, and then choosing how you're going to make a better mistake the next time. And that's self-leadership. It's never about being perfect. It's never about having the perfect morning ritual that's, 3 hours long or whatever. It's about having these structures and ability to go, okay, well, how can I make a better mistake tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. And keep moving forward.
Right. With love, right? We're not trying to push past anything, but we're trying to move forward with love and not stay in the same circling drain of death.
You also teach about freedom and people being able to just be who they are. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So, the ultimate state of being is really just being able to own your own frequency of your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get to create that freedom, the freedom is that you get to experience, I call it joyful freedom. And you get to have that no matter what you're doing or where you're at, right? We often want to be like, I want the freedom to travel. I want the freedom to go and do this. And yes, I want to travel. I want to go and do these things. But the freedom really comes when you harness that ability to experience joyful freedom, no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about doing a difficult task, where can you bring that emotional, that joyful freedom into the task that you do? Right? How can you harness that piece that allows you to feel at the end of that task, oh my gosh, that feels so good. I feel so free because I'm able to just do the thing that really lights my soul on fire. And when we do that, we raise our frequency, we raise our vibration. So again, we just constantly create this broadcast that allows our desires to come to us instead of us on that hamster wheel all the time. So we're able to really increase our impact because we're doing it at a higher frequency, which allows us to reach more people. And it allows us to really tap into our authentic self, that soul piece of us that helps us be a leader, not only for ourselves, but for others.
I feel like when I got married, I felt like, I don't know. When I got married, I felt like I had to become this like whole new person. It sounds strange, but when you have to start getting married, you got to be somebody with somebody else. It's like you can't be independent anymore. I'm trying to say this without sounding like a mean person.
Just say it.
It's what always sounded mean. You know how you take on a family, you start having kids and all this, and it's just like you can't even have the freedom to be who you are anymore.
Right. Yep. And that happens through all those cycles of self-betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I always think about self-betrayal as this like knife wound to the heart. To me, that's how I see it, like in my own self, like it sees. So each time we push our needs aside, it's like another like stab wound into the heart, right? And it creates this inability to hold the capacity for ourselves. So what we do is we overgive and we give to everybody else. And so we forget who we are, even more so. So over the years and through each cycle of this, we just keep diminishing our own frequency. It comes inward more. So yeah, there is this piece when you take on that relationship, because you feel like you have to take care of them and you have to, what does it look like to be a wife? What is it? How does it change? And so hopefully we all find a partner that you can be yourself with, and that it is a co-creation of a relationship. They have their thing, you have yours, and you guys then come together. So my husband and I, we just call ourselves Team Redden. Like he has his fun activities and I have my fun activities, but we are always Team Redden no matter what's happening. And that allows us to still be together and still co-create together, but still be very much who we are.
That's how me and my husband are too, which is shocking because everybody's like, well, I don't know. A lot of people feel like when you're in a relationship, you always have to be with the person all the time. We're not like that at all. We're like, deuces. You over there, I'm over here. I mean, we're a team, but at the same time, we're our own person. So bye.
Right. Also, I'll share this. So my husband does four-wheeling. He goes to the mountains and he has a four-wheeling truck and he goes and he does that. And the very first time he went, we've been together for 16 years, something like that. The first time he went, he was drunk, but yeah, so he was just like, oh my God, I had the best time, you gotta come with me, right? And I was like, I just let him carry on. And then when he got home, I was like, you know, that's not a good idea, right? And he was like, oh no, yeah, I know, yeah, I don't want you to come with me. And that was one of those things where it was like, no, that's yours. It's yours. You do you out there, and I'll be here, and I'll love every minute that I get to be in the house by myself.
That part. I love days when I'm by myself. Trust me. See ya. Have fun.
Right. Make sure the tub is clean so I can take a bath.
That part. Okay, when somebody is working on themselves, do you find that there are like common reasons why people would give up or just stop trying altogether?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never had that question before. I never encountered someone like that, to be perfectly honest, that just wants to give up working on themselves. And I think because it's such a deep, passionate thing of my own that I just attract other people that this is their deep, passionate thing. I always think about it like for my whole career and my whole life, I've always been like, I want more. Where's the more? And then over the past 2 years, I discovered what that more was. And that more was just, I want more of me, right? I want more of my soul. I want more of my authenticness. I really want to harness all of my magic, all of my powers, and I really want to spread that across the world. And I find that to be true with my clients. They're also in search of that more. And so they do it by climbing a corporate ladder, or they do it. And it's not that being corporate is wrong. I think there are plenty of roles that are going to be with us forever, for a long time within the corporate setting. But it's just, they have found it's like taking another course, right? Or getting another certificate, or getting another acronym behind their name, going back to school, or whatever that is. It's that more, but it's not the more that actually soothes them or nourishes them. That actually comes from their soul. So I've never encountered anybody that was just like, no, I don't want to do any more personal work.
Yeah, but I guess I'm asking because sometimes like I'm a more person too. Like a more. Let me try this, this is all over the place. But then I get burnt out and I'm like, okay, I'm done for right now. Like I need a week, or I need 2 weeks off. Let me take a month off. Like I've gotten to those points where I was doing so much more to where it's like I can't physically do anything right now. Like my brain is fried.
So that is a completely different thing. And that is because it's time for you to come into who are you being while you're doing those things. So where can you release some of that hamster wheelness and come back into who am I being? As Melissa Holmes, who am I being in this moment, and how does my soul really want me to work? And then when you create a rhythm from that place, that burnout that you're experiencing, it doesn't mean you won't want to take breaks, because I want to take breaks too. But that burnout won't be so intense. It'll be like a day where you kind of need to just like come into yourself and give that space to yourself, and then you can show back up. And you might find that rhythm there. But yeah, a lot of that, the burnout and we talked about that a little bit with the addiction of just doing, of constantly doing. And that really is this piece where you have stopped listening to your soul. Yeah. So that piece, people burn out on, I think it's called inner work. It's still work. You don't have to be working on yourself all the time. It's legit work to be to be journaling and dealing with another cycle. Sometimes you just need to be like, I'm not opening my journal. I'm not reading a self-help book. I'm not taking another course. I'm just going to let myself bring in the practical tools that I have and love myself for all that I am already.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, what are some misconceptions you find women in leadership roles struggle with?
Oh, well, I think we have talked about pretty much a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, we have.
We have talked about several of them, like the chasing after more and needing more. That is such a big one. And I had a thought come just a second ago, but it disappeared. So maybe it'll come back. But that's probably one of the biggest ones. And I think that's what leads to more burnout than anything else, right? That constant searching, that constant, I just want more. And so it really is this almost desperate energy, this lack and not feeling enough, right? You don't feel enough as who you are and what you have. So you're in this constant search. But like I said, it's the misconception that it is really the separation of you from your soul, and really feeling and listening to who you are and caring for yourself and nourishing yourself at the deepest level. And that self-love that you can create a ritual and a structure around that feels good. So yeah, I think that's the biggest one I see with women in leadership, is just that constant drive and that constant need for more, when what it is just needing to love themselves, and connect back with their soul.
I've never thought about it like that, but it is absolutely thirsty behavior. Like, get thirsty.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Thirsty. Yes.
Like, I never thought about it until you said it. I'm like, that is thirsty energy.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can't stand, is the chase.
Yeah. So the chase just really is that. How can I come back? How can I be? How can I be in this moment? Who can I be? Who do I want to be? Who am I becoming? So with all of these activities that you're doing and that you partake in, how are they leading you to becoming the version of Melissa Holmes that you want to be? And if they're not, do they need to be done?
Right. Exit off the to-do list.
That's right. No. And it doesn't mean we don't do challenging things. I think that is a huge misconception, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel aligned. So no. There's a difference between something being aligned and feeling and not feeling good, right? Because if it's different, if it's new, then it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, right? It's like learning how to read, right? We all know learning how to read was a challenge for us as a child, but that doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to do.
Yes. Yeah, that was needed clarifying, because somebody would say, okay, let me just not do all the things to make money, and then they're gonna be broke.
Right. So just because something is challenging doesn't mean it's not an aligned action, or doesn't mean it's not something that you should follow through with. But how you can tell the difference if you just take a moment and listen. And that's why coming back to who you are and all of your desires and who you're being is so pivotal, because then you actually start to listen and hear your soul, and you start to hear your innate wisdom. And we've gotten so used to pushing that piece away out of protection, right? Because usually what the soul desires is scary, because it's going to require a new level, a new version of ourselves, that it requires us to get out of our comfort zone. And so usually we're going to choose what's comfortable, just because that's how we're designed.
Mm-hmm. Even though what's comfortable at one point wasn't comfortable.
That's right.
Okay, book recommendations. Do you have a book recommendation?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Supernatural, Becoming Supernatural. That is best book. I have it bookmarked and dog-eared and highlighted, and that I highly recommend that one. And then the second one that I would recommend, oh, I got two more. The second one that I would recommend is called Creating Money. And I can't remember the author. It's a purple cover, and it's got a beautiful color wheel on it. I think it's Sonia, potentially. And then my third book recommendation is called The Book of Joy. It is by Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who recently passed away. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then it's was written or documented by another gentleman. His name's Abraham. But the Book of Joy, it pops up on Amazon. Those are my three. Yeah, those are my three.
Okay, I'll look them up, put them in the show notes.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Awesome. I loved it.
Can you let everyone know where they can connect with you?
Oh, absolutely. So you can always find me on Instagram. I generally am in my stories at least once a day, sometimes something like that. And my handle is It's Jen Redden. So, and that's Jen with 2 N's. And then the other place you can connect with me is LinkedIn. So if you're a professional and even if you're not a professional and you want to hop on LinkedIn, I will tell you, I recently just hopped on LinkedIn, especially since you said you've got new entrepreneurs on here. The conversations and the interaction and engagement on LinkedIn is amazing. So I highly encourage you as an entrepreneur, depending on what you're working on. I mean, everybody's on there. There's tons of professionals all over. So hop on there. You will probably find yourself meeting some really amazing people and having really engaging conversations. And you can find me on there. It's Jennifer J. Redden. And then, of course, my final place you can find me, my website, and that is orangeskywellness.com.
Okay, I got to ask, what's up with the orange sky?
So when I started my business, I had just left a retreat in Sundance, Utah, and it's beautiful out there. I love the mountains. They are my home. And every night there was just this beautiful orange sky, and it felt so calling to me. And then my natural aura color and one of the things that I bring through is like orange and golden sparkles. So of course I've been naturally drawn to orange, and I didn't even know why, but yeah, so orange sky just takes me back to the mountains. It takes me to this like peaceful place of just that creation piece, and it's so beautiful. And I also live in Virginia Beach, and so I live on the ocean, and we're on the East Coast, so we get to watch the sunrise at the ocean front often, and it's just beautiful when it has the orange sky. So it's just a piece of beauty.
Yeah, but that's really cool, because you'll always think about it when you say your website.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was awesome, Melissa. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing the interview. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Thank you for tuning in. Stop playing at life. Let's go. Hey,
you just listened to Melissa with Stop Playing at Life, because you know damn well you need to go out there and have a life.
Right now's the time. Let's go. Hey.